He is the great I am. His first friend was Abraham. Surely said to Abraham,
I think you need to send me this one, because the one I have doesn't have the specialty coffee underneath. You added specialty coffee. All I have is Cup of Friendship, so I need that image to put on the print on the bags. So we'll tell him that later, okay?
We need you to send that image to him, okay? Because that one has specialty coffees on it. Thank you. And we thank Doolin Dalton. He is the genius behind all the sound and the video, and he works tirelessly. And the cool thing about it is he has other ways that he makes his living. He does this. He is paid to do it, but he does this for a minimal amount. But he does this because he enjoys being here with us. And so we want to thank Doolin Dalton. And he's a great writer.
Well, not only that, but he does trivia nights out in our community.
It's amazing.
Just the work that I see him doing behind the scenes here.
Well, you read
has made us look really good.
And you need to read Vera's Voice magazine. The things that he writes.
Oh no,
astounding.
I'm following his satirical posts that he's been making.
I mean, I don't want him to get a fat hit, but I think someday we're going to look back. I hope if he realizes what talent he has.
So folks,
you worked with this guy.
So folks,
I worked with this
on
guy.
Facebook. If you go to Vero Voice Media, you will see some hilarious posts that Doolin has been making. That if you live in Vero Beach, you laugh and just the latest one that we're canceling all of the construction. The city of Vero Beach is canceling all the construction until the snowbirds get back, because we don't want them to miss out on the experience of dodging random orange barrels that get placed out randomly in our roads, or so it seems. Of course, that followed the making the 17th Street Bridge construction project a historical landmark, because it's been going on for so long. I mean, for those of us that live here, these are hilarious posts. We really get some chuckles. So,
I like the one where he said a lady showed up at the local supermarket called Publix, and right at noon she orders 17 sandwiches, and everybody was really ticked off and having to wait for this, and we had over 2.1 views, and we had how many tens of thousands of responses, right?
Well, and I like the one where the tourist from Connecticut shows up and asks the lifeguard at the beach, "Are there sharks in the water?"
Only little ones, only babies.
Only little ones. The reality is, one time I was flying down the coast. I had a flight. I took off from Vero Beach, and I think I was headed to Palm Beach. Yeah. And I was at low altitude climbing out, and I looked, and there was a group of hammerheads that was right off of South Beach. And there were a couple of people that were in the water, and there were two hammerheads that actually swam between these two people, but they couldn't see them. And so I turned the airplane around, and I revved the engines trying to get them to look up, and I rocked my wings. But the hammerheads just went on, didn't bother them. We have very few shark bites here. It's amazing. My daughter, my son, and my son-in-law, and my other daughter, they're surfers, and they'll be out surfing, and I see shark tips in the water. They're out there. They keep going. Anyway, we're going to continue this investigation as to how did Jesus make disciples. In our last conversation, Rhett, remember we were talking about just the process of discipleship, beginning with this born-again experience, and how that now leads to investigating in the Bible of, well, what does the Bible say about discipleship? What does it say about making disciples? And of course, Jesus is the master. And so what did Jesus do? Well, he told us to be salt and light, meaning in biblical culture, salt means to be a loyal, faithful, unoffendable friend. And light he defines in that verse in Matthew chapter 5 as random acts of service. Let your random acts of service do this so that people can see God in you, and they'll see me through that. So being salt and light is the first step in us really reaching our community.
And you know what the amazing thing is? The more you do his life his way, the actual more fun it is. Being on the take, putting yourself first in traffic and wanting to get ahead of everybody, or letting people out. It feels so good to be kind to people. It just feels so dang good.
Well, Doolin, I don't know, did you make this post, or maybe you're going to make one about the the guys with the New England license plates that are speeding and down I-95 or US 1, and they make it to the exit after causing almost many accidents. They make it to the exit 3 seconds before we do.
I had a guy.
3 lanes of traffic.
Yeah, right,
I had
right.
a guy in a little white truck down in Fort Pierce. He went by. It almost caused us to die. And we got up, and when we got to the red light, we caught right up to him.
It's crazy. So Jesus is the master. And so what we notice with Jesus is building relationship. And we saw the difference between how Matthew describes the calling of Peter and Andrew with just a 1 or 2 verses, walking by the lake and calling them, and they drop their nets and follow him. But then we see Luke actually describing in chapter 4 and chapter 5 how Jesus comes to Capernaum. He's teaching at the synagogue. He's casting out demons. He's healing people. Peter's mother-in-law is sick. Jesus comes over to heal her. She fixes a meal. Now Peter and Jesus are having meals together. And it was then a few verses later that down by the shoreline, Jesus is teaching. Peter's boat's sitting there. He's been fishing all night. He says, "Can I stand up on your boat so I can address the people better?" "Of course you can. You're my friend." After he finished, Jesus said, "How was your catch?" "It was not good." Jesus said, "Why don't you throw your nets out again?" Peter's thinking, "Hey, the fish are not at the top of the lake in the middle of the day here, but okay, Jesus, since you're my friend and you're telling me this, all right, I'll drop them out." They go out, they get the miracle catch. Peter recognizes what's going on, and that's when Jesus says, "Come follow me, now we'll be fishing for men." So it was because of the relationship that he had with Peter. You see, Jesus was all about relational discipleship,
Yep.
okay?
God wants friends.
And
you.
so we notice Jesus seeing people. He notices, for example, Matthew sitting at the toll booth, the tax collecting booth, and he says, "Matthew, come, follow me." And the next scene is he's at Matthew's house with all of Matthew's buddies, who no religious person would ever have a meal with, but Jesus, because they're unclean. They're tax collectors. Yes.
Oh, Matthew was a tax collector.
Okay.
I forgot about that.
And then we see Jesus encountering this Samaritan woman. Jews and Samaritans don't talk. Men and women don't talk. He crossed cultural barriers to have a conversation. And this woman, he treated her with courtesy. He referred to her as dear woman. His kindness had an incredible effect upon this woman. And as a result of that, many of the Samaritans believed. You see, Jesus was willing to interact with total strangers. You and I talked about when he came to Jericho, and he sees Zacchaeus, the notorious tax collector in Jericho. And he says, "I'm going to have a meal at your house today." And
people are befuddled. "What are you talking about? Don't you know this guy? This guy's a bad tax collector. You're going to go to his house? How come you're not going to come to my house? I'm righteous."
Yes. And meanwhile, Zacharias, after the meal, Zacchaeus, thank you. He said, "I'm going to give half of my wealth to the poor, Lord, and if I've overcharged people on their taxes, I'll give them back 4 times as much."
The love of God reduces him.
And Jesus responded, "The salvation has come to this home today, for this man has shown himself to be a son of Abraham." As James said, "I'll show you my faith by what I do."
And what was Abraham? He was the greatest. His first friend was Abraham. Listen to me. I just realized that's in that song.
Of
and
course.
What is our whole show about? Friendship.
It's friendship.
His first friend was Abraham. Oh my word! I'm just putting the puzzle together as we speak.
I think he and Adam were friends because they walked in the garden together in the evenings.
Well,
I think God often was calling for friendship. When he invited the 70 elders up on Mount Sinai for a covenant meal after he gives the law, this is Exodus chapter 24, he had a covenant meal with the 70 elders. You only eat with your friends in biblical culture. By having that, he's saying to these people, these former slaves, "I want a relationship of friendship with you. So God has always been demonstrating his friendship toward
I'm
us.
going to ask you something. I never, ever heard this story. Now, 40-something years I've known the Lord. Read the Bible a lot, been to a hither and yon. And Michael the Greek told us the other day at a meeting, a pastoral meeting, and he said about these rocks. I never heard this story about the 12 rocks. What is that all about?
Well, we'll get to that.
I never heard that story.
Let's stay on track
And you
here.
can visit those same rocks today that were brought in by the 12 tribes.
Okay. So we see Jesus reaching out to these random people. He's noticing strangers. He's spending time with them. He's developing relationships. He's speaking into their lives. He's speaking truth. He's showing them kindness. Okay? So, but we also see Jesus, he's teaching to the large crowds. But he also has his small group. And he used the crowd settings to draw many listeners, I think, into a more intimate encounters with him and his disciples. You see, he understood the value of having a small group to not only just share his words, but also share his lifestyle. Now, you mentioned something in our last session about people watching those leaders and imitating their lives, okay? You see, I think spending quality time and extended time is very essential in relational discipleship.
Say that again?
Spending quality time. This is one of the languages of love.
Quality and quantity, right?
Right. See, Jesus was traveling, he was eating, he was working together with his group of 12 and the women that were also part of his group. And they became a very caring, trusted community, and it was very attractive. And that's what we should be, okay? But Jesus spoke to the large crowds, and he threw out some things that are really significant here. Let me just read this from Matthew 4, Jesus began teaching by the lakeside. There was such a large crowd along the shore, he got in a boat and sat down and spoke from there. He began to teach people, telling them stories such as this one. Listen, a farmer went out to plant some seed. He scattered it across his field. Some seed fell on a footpath, and the birds came up and ate it. Other seed fell on shallow soil with underlying rock. The plant sprang up quickly, but soon it wilted under the hot sun and died in the roots and had no nourishment in the shallow soil. Other seeds fell among the thorns. It shot up and choked out the tender blades that produced no grain. Still other seeds fell on fertile ground and produced a crop that was 30, 60, even 100 times as much had been planted. And anyone who's willing to hear should listen and understand. Now, we hear this. This is kind of an intriguing story, and there's been many sermons preached on this, and I think that's a topic that we can discuss perhaps down the road here. But the next verse says, later Jesus was alone with his 12 disciples and the others who were with him, and they asked him, what do your stories mean? And he replied, you're permitted to understand the secret about the kingdom, but I'm using these stories to conceal everything about it from outsiders, so the scriptures might be fulfilled. You see, I think a person that's in the crowd, if we're in the crowd, we're hearing the story, we go, wow. Now, this is going to pique our curiosity, and it's going to cause us to want to hear more. And there's definitely a lot in this message about the sower, and we're going to talk about that.
SOWER.
Yeah, the sower, okay.
Sowing seeds.
Because Mark goes on to explain, he used many such stories and illustrations to teach the people as much as they were able to understand. In fact, his public teaching, he only taught with parables. But afterward, when he was alone with his disciples, he explained the meanings to them. Okay? So now Jesus has got his small group. Now, I think that's kind of a model for us, Rhett. We should also be involved in relationships with people that become kind of our community. We become part of a community, and we get to exercise our gifts within this community. And we, for me, as you have pointed out, I like telling people about things. Whenever I get a piece of information that becomes personal to me, I have this somehow innate desire that I want to share it.
You've been given a gift, and therefore now you want to share that gift.
And so I find myself in our cafe ministry involved in helping people understand the scriptures. And I think that's why you invited me to come to the studio, and the conversations you and I have had on Tuesday morning at our men's group, and
For 5, 6 years, I don't know how long.
and our Thursday morning group that we have at the Rio Coco Cafe.
Male and female.
And then we have our Saturday morning group that we're doing this traveling to biblical sites and doing kind of a walk through the sites.
And you can have a cup of friendship.
Right, but I mean, these are all just natural expressions of us creating the community at the Rio Coco Cafe and just letting us do what we do. Of course, my wife does a lot of things differently than me, but together we're I think a pretty good
What
team.
does she do differently than you?
She is a hair cutter.
Oh, okay.
She cuts hair.
She still does this?
Yeah, she does it just on the side, and people make donations to our ministry as a
Really?
result of that. I think is kind of the way she doesn't do it just among her friends.
Maybe I could get her to cut my hair.
But I think a lot of times,
Not that I have much to cut.
whenever a person makes a donation to
Yeah.
the Seek the Lamb ministry,
Yeah.
it's usually because of friendship with us, and it's friendship and because our school project on the Cocoa River, we've given food, we've given clothing, we've given school books, we've paid teachers. We develop relationships with people that see the things that God is doing through us, and many of them are very naturally attracted to participate with us.
And if I might say this, as in Haiti, where I went, and you down here, a lot of the times those children will come to school and they'll get possibly the only decent meal they'll get all day long.
Right. So I think developing community, I think my wife and I together, we develop community because both of us are interested in people. And when you show an interest in people, and I enjoy my friendships, you know?
Yeah. And so many things of this world isolate us. You know, you get a Bugatti for $3 million, it's a car, and you're set up, whereas you could have friendship. Would you rather be in a group and have friends, or be isolated in your Bugatti with your puffed up pride sitting at a red light? It's not pleasant to be puffed up. It's more pleasant to have friends and share what you have.
Okay. So we see Jesus speaking to the large crowds, but we see him spending intimate moments with his small group. And I hope that if you're not a part of a small group in your community of fellow believers, find one. Start developing that. Start inviting people to your home. Start spending some time with them. Start looking at the needs of the people around you and reaching in your pockets and taking the resources that God has given you and become a giver. Let your light shine
Before men.
so they will see
your good
Christ
works.
in you, you know. And one of the things that Rodney Stark points out in his book, The Rise of Christianity, is that the generosity of Christians in the 2nd and 3rd century caused the church to grow, along with a number of other factors, from a group of probably about 10,000 at the end of the 1st century to 33 million by the middle of the 4th century. How did that community grow? They took over the Roman Empire. They became the majority of the population because of
After much tribulation.
because of their generosity, because of their care for the people around them. And
Simply amazing.
And it is, and this is kind of the model for us.
And who was the, I'm sorry.
So,
Okay, I want to say this. The famous Jewish leader. And they said, we must come to this. We must stop these Christians and these followers of Jesus as the Messiah. He said, listen, calm down. He
Gamaliel.
said, if this is not of God, it's going to fade away.
Right.
And if it is of God, there's nothing we can do to stop it.
Right.
What a wise Pharisee.
And this is...
I hope he came to know the Lord.
Yeah. So one of the things that I noticed in the ministry of Jesus is there was lots of interruptions.
Oh, like I give you?
A lot of interruptions. For example,
What do you mean?
Well, for example, Luke chapter 8. He's decides to take his disciples across the lake to the northeast corner, which is the Gentile side of the Sea of Galilee.
Yeah. And he decides to take a nap.
Well, the first interruption is the storm that comes. A storm comes up. He's, as Peter describes through Mark, he's asleep in a cushion on the back, and suddenly the waves are coming up. And if you've ever been to the Sea of Galilee,
I have. I think I was baptized in the sea.
you're in a little cauldron that's 600 feet below sea level. You got Mount Hermon just to the north, 9,400 feet. And suddenly that cold wind can come down from that mountain and hit that lake. Yeah. And suddenly it'll go from calm to 2 or 3 foot sets of waves. And I've been when the storm has come, and I've seen it.
Have you really?
Oh yeah, it's
wake up, Messiah, wake up! Would you not care that we die?
So that was the first interruption. He calmed the storm. So when he gets to the other side, he's met by a guy who's demon possessed. And when he's this guy has been chained up, and he breaks the chains, and he's been terrorizing the entire region, and people are really afraid of him. And Jesus confronts him.
Worse than a bully with a demon.
And Jesus confronts him and asks him, "What is your name?" And remember the famous response?
Legion.
My name is Legion, because there's many of us. My pronouns are they and them.
Oh, my word.
So Jesus basically, the demons start getting riled up, and Jesus is going to command them to come out. And they say, "Can we go into those pigs?" There happens to be a herd of pigs nearby.
Why did they ask that?
I don't know. But the fact that there's pig herders indicates we're in a Gentile area, because Jews would never have pigs. So Jesus says, yes.
Hold on. What about this? Maybe if he casts them out, they might be into outer darkness, whereas they go into the pigs, they're hopeful that maybe they can commit suicide and therefore be at peace? No.
I don't know, but there's one place on the eastern shore of the Sea of Galilee where there's a slope that goes down and directly into the lake. There's actually, as you're driving along that side, there's a place you can actually pull off. There's a little marker there. This is the place where this happened, because it's the only one where you're going to run down the hill and right into the lake. And so that happens. And so now he's sitting around and talking to Jesus, and he's completely free. And he says, "Take me back with you to Capernaum." And of course, the disciples are standing behind the guy going, "No, no, 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 no." And Jesus tells him, "Return to your house, describe the great things that God has done for you." So he went out proclaiming to the whole city what great things Jesus had done. Now, I want you to notice this. Demon-possessed guy, many demons inhabiting him, affecting him, oppressing him. Our name is Legion, for we are many. Our pronouns are they and them. Jesus commands them to go into the pigs, and they do, and the pigs rush down the hill into the water, and they drown. And the people are going, "Hey, this is just destroying our economy. You just cost us a lot of money. Would you leave here?" Now,
we're killing our pigs here.
Notice Jesus didn't say, "Okay, now, I want you to come with me. We're going to go to rabbi school. We're going to send you off to Bible college. You got to get your 4-year degree, a year degree in divinity. Then you can become a missionary." Jesus didn't say that to him. No. He said immediately. Now, this is the first commissioning of a missionary recorded in the Bible.
And what is it to who?
To this formerly demon-possessed guy. He says, "Return to your house, describe what great things God has done for you." So this formerly demon-possessed guy went away proclaiming through the whole city what great things God has done, the first missionary. And later, Jesus passes through that area known as Decapolis, and there's a great harvest. And his disciples go through that area because this guy was speaking the words of Jesus.
And they knew him to be an evil bully.
They knew there was some profound change in this guy.
What happened to you?
So this was an interruption.
Yeah.
And it turned out that Jesus made the first missionary disciple.
So are we telling people today, whatever your life may be, don't resist the interruptions?
All right. Look at what happened later. As soon as they cross the lake and they get out of the boat, it's been a long day. They're ready to go back home, kick up, have some refreshment, turn on the TV, have some wings or pizza or something just to chill out. But no. There's Jairus standing. He's the leader of the synagogue. He's standing by. His daughter is mortally ill. Luke records, as Jesus returned, the people welcomed him, for they'd all been waiting for him. There was a man named Jairus. He was an official of the synagogue. He fell at Jesus' feet and began to implore him, "Come to my house." For he had an only daughter, about 12 years old, and she was dying. Okay?
His only daughter.
So Jesus goes now with Jairus, and he's heading toward his house. But there's a crowd that has gathered around him, and as he's heading toward Jairus' house, there's another interruption, because a woman who's been bleeding for over a decade decides this man has power, he has authority, and
if I touch the hem of his garment,
if I touch the hem of his garment, which for a Jewish rabbi, his knots were tied in a particular way that was specific to him. It was almost a symbol of his authority to touch the talit, this fringe of the garment, which had a blue thread in it, symbolizing an Israelite. There's a lot here in the story. She touches the hem of his garment, and suddenly Jesus said, "Someone did touch me, for I was aware that power had gone out of me." When the woman saw that she had escaped notice, she came trembling and fell down before him and declared in the presence of all the people why he had touched her and how she had immediately been healed. And he said, "Daughter, your faith has made you go well." Okay? So while this was all happening, this second interruption, it's the third interruption of the day. Okay? Now someone comes from Jairus' home and announces that the young girl had died. And when Jesus heard this, he answered him and said, "Don't be afraid any longer, only believe, and she will be made well." When he came to the house, he didn't allow anyone other than him, Peter and John and James, and the girl's father and mother to enter. Now they were all weeping and lamenting for her, but he said, "Stop weeping, for she has not died, but is asleep." And they began laughing at him, and knowing that she had died, he, however, took her by the hand and called her, saying, "Child, arise." And her spirit returned, and she got up immediately, and he gave orders for something to be given to her to eat. Her parents were amazed, as they would be, but he instructed them to tell no one what had happened. Okay, you see, interruption, the first missionary gets sent out. The second interruption, this woman who's been bleeding for over a decade gets healed. The third interruption, this girl gets raised from the dead. And now Jairus, who's the leader of the synagogue, is now a member of Jesus' team. He's a disciple, okay? And you wonder why Jesus never had any problems with the religious authorities in Capernaum? It's because the head of the synagogue was on his team, okay?
Clandestine operative there.
Luke records another interruption later on in chapter 18. As they're approaching Jericho, a blind beggar was sitting beside the road. When he heard the noisy crowd going by, he asked what was happening. They said, "Jesus of Nazareth was going by." So he began shouting, "Jesus, Son of David, have mercy on me." And the crowd ahead of Jesus tried to hush the man, but he only shouted louder, "Son of David, have mercy on me." And when Jesus heard him, he stopped and ordered that the man might be brought to him. And Jesus asked, "What do you want me to do?" And, "Lord," he pleaded, "I want to see." And Jesus said, "All right, you can see. Your faith has healed you." Okay? So this is another interruption. The blind beggar, who was often ignored by the residents of Jericho, now has become a disciple of Jesus because of this interruption. Okay? Now, Rhett, why are interruptions a part of God's strategy to reach our community? Well, I want you to think about how Jesus told his disciples to pray. Okay? When he gave us the Lord's Prayer, it starts off with, Our Father who is in heaven, hallowed be your name. The next line is
Thy
about
kingdom come, thy will be done.
on heaven as it is on
As
earth.
it is in heaven.
Give us this day our daily bread. Okay.
And forgive us our trespasses
Okay.
as we forgive those who
Now,
trespass against us.
think about what you're asking here. You're telling God, you're a great God, you're awesome, you're my
Hallowed
King,
be
you're
thy
my
name.
Lord. Okay. Now the next line, your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven.
Mm-hmm.
What are we asking there with that proclamation?
Thy will be done.
Okay.
It's a type of surrender.
Okay. So what we're in a sense doing is we're saying, let your kingdom in heaven come to earth and let your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Now, Rhett, the only person that I have control of in making that proclamation is me. So I am now giving God permission to interrupt my agenda. And I'm saying, I got my plans, Lord, but let your agenda be paramount. Give me some cues, interrupt me, because I know you want to make use of my time today, okay? Proverbs 16:9, great proverb. The mind of Michael plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps. Okay.
He's Michael, by the way.
So
there you have it.
Jesus gives the example of interruptions and how we treat them. Now, I used to get interrupted a lot by people that are marketing and raising funds calling me on the phone. And there was a campaign that went on for many years where I would get a call from a law enforcement agency that was had some sort of ranch, and they were asking for donations, and they were going to give me a little sticker to put on my license plate to show me that I had made a donation, right? You probably got some of those calls. And it would come at just the most unusual times, and often I would get irritated by these phone calls. And the Lord really convicted me on this. He goes, interruptions, okay? Consider it an interruption. Think of what I would want to do in this conversation. So the next call I got, this guy calls me and said, would you like to make a donation to this? I said, well, I really appreciate what you're doing, and I understand that you're raising funds for a very good cause, because I, too, am a fundraiser. And he said, really? I said, yeah, my wife and I, we went to Honduras. We began working with refugees, and we started a school project. And now we've got 12 schools going on with over 1,600 students. And so we have a child sponsorship program, and so I'm actively involved in raising funds through our child sponsorship program. And he said to me, why are you doing that? And when someone asks me why I'm doing something like that, he's basically saying, tell me about your experience with Jesus. And so I told him that I was a guy who was a pilot in the Navy. I didn't think much about God. I got out of the Navy. I moved to Colorado. I became a skier. I skied in the daytime, worked in a hotel at night. And then I went to Hawaii to help a friend open an ice cream business. My cousins that lived on the island took me to church. I had an experience with God, and my life changed. And 3 years later, I found myself volunteering to go work with these refugees. And so I got a chance to tell him my story. And so what happened was that interruption, I believe, turned into a significant moment. And I was able to encourage him to continue his fundraising efforts. And I knew he was being paid for this work. And I just encouraged him that it was a good thing that he was doing, but I got a chance to tell him my testimony. Now, I don't know what God did with that, Rhett, but he prompted me not to view my interruptions as irritating, but to view them as opportunities. Does that make sense? Okay. So when I look at the Gospels, I see Jesus teaching the large crowds. I see him spending quality time with many people, from the rich, from the politically connected, to the people that were just unacceptable in Hebrew society, the shepherds, the tax collectors, the prostitutes, the drunkards. I see him living his life with his disciples. He's sharing his life with them. He's having intimate moments with them. And I also see him as having, he'd be willing to stop at any time to be interrupted with anyone who he considers to be a possible potential
Speaking of
disciple.
interruptions, sorry. Oh. All right.
Go ahead.
Sorry.
We'll be
So-
done in about 3 minutes. Thanks.
So, as I look at the Jesus method, and I would ask you, all of you, to consider some practical applications to this.
Yeah.
Okay. First of all, what is the,
Excuse me.
okay? Rhett, what is the power of loyal, faithful, giving relationships and living a life truly sanctified in the society that we live in? Is there power behind that?
Well, Jesus says it's more blessed to give than to receive, and the older you get, the more you learn that.
I know, but don't you think that people see us as different than most people in society?
Well, if we are a good witness at our better times.
Right. So if we actually are loyal, faithful, unoffendable friends, if we're willing to give of those resources
And
that God has
esteem
given us,
others greater than ourselves.
exactly.
No, Rhett, don't be offended. You're not first.
And-
They're first.
And if we truly live out our life following God's morality rather than our own self-interest,
Yes.
I think people are going to notice that. And in our
God will take care of you if you
And-
take care of others.
in our cafe ministry and Utila, one of the things that was spoken by one of our dive instructor friends was, he asked Jake, our team leader, he said, "Do you guys realize the significance of your cafe on our island? It's more than just serving coffee. You guys have become friends with us. You care for us. You talk to us. We come over to have coffee, but we come over to really just spend time in this atmosphere." People notice this giving to other people, this concern for other people. People notice that. It's very significant. Okay,
All right. We got to wrap this up.
okay. The second thing is, are we willing to be interrupted from our daily agenda
Talking about interruptions.
and schedule and stop to serve a potential disciple? Okay, are we willing? And the answer is we should be.
Yeah.
Finally, how will our individual efforts, your and my efforts this week, combined with other Christians' personal discipleship, the relationships that with the body of Christ touches, how will they affect this world? You see, and individually, you and I, Rhett, over the next week, we're going to probably have interaction with at least 100 people, maybe more. Combine that with every other follower of Jesus on the planet. This is how we change our world. See, it's not hard. This is not brain surgery.
One give at a time.
One at a time. Okay.
All right. We got to say goodbye for now. And I want to thank you, Michael Bagby, who's a historian, biblical historian, as well as studied history over in Europe. And this is called Cup of Friendship. And we hope you'll join us here with frequency. And we appreciate you. And Jesus is Lord.
Aloha to all of our listeners around the world. Thank you.
Yeah, and drink our coffee. Cup of Friendship.
Hallelujah, hallelujah.
So how about that? An interruption